Hi, welcome to this new tutorial. In this one, we're going to be making a Magic 8-Ball application using Python and Tkinter. So the way this application works is I have an image loaded, and we're going to be loading the images from a folder using only the extension. I have a text box, so the input box is here, and I have a button. So right now the input box is empty. If I click on the button, it basically warns us that, please enter a question. The same happens if I press enter. So now I can just ask a question to the Magic 8-Ball. I can say, will it rain today? The question mark, press enter, and then it's saying absolutely. So basically the way the application works is it will load up all the images and load into a list, and then we'll randomly select those images from the list. So it will just randomly select an answer and display it on the screen for us. So let's ask another question and say, can I learn more programming? And then it says go for it. So we're just going to be making this one using Tkinter Python inside of Visual Studio Code. Right, so let's go ahead and open Visual Studio Code. I have a folder on my desktop here that's called Python 8-Ball folder. Please download the images from the MOOICT website. The link's in the description. You'll find all the images for the Magic 8-Ball. There's 15 images here. We'll be loading them directly from the program. So instead of declaring them one by one, we'll load them all together. Okay, so if I just drag and drop this folder onto Visual Studio Code here, so I'm going to make a new script here called magic _ 8-Ball app. 8-Ball app.py. Okay, so right now I have 8-Ball app.py here loaded. Okay, so some of the stuff that we're going to need to install, I'm just going to switch it back to my 3.8 because I've got them all installed in there. So Tkinter, OS, random, these already come with Python. For the images, to load the images and display them with custom size and so on, you'll need to install a framework called Pillow. So and that's relatively simple to install. So long as you have your right interpreter selected, you can pretty much just install it using pip install Pillow. So I'll show you how to do that now. Let's just go and open a terminal here. Right now I'm inside my thingy, so if I go to say pip install Pillow like so, mine will show that the requirements already satisfied because it's already been installed on this one. So yours might just go with several commands down and then make sure you get it installed. So just make sure that Pillow is installed on your interpreter. Okay, so right from the top, let's go and say from Tkinter import everything, and also we're going to say from Tkinter import message box. We need that. And then we're also going to say from, we need to install import OS. OS is already in there, I believe. We install import random, install random, and then from PIL, that's the Pillow, we're going to import image TK and image. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make the window that we need. We're going to say root is equals to TK. So that's just initializing the window. Root.title. We'll give the title ACT Magic 8-Ball app. And then we do root.geometry. So that's the size of the window. And this one's going to be 610 by 510. X510. Did the comma for some reason. So there's only two variables that we need. So we're going to need one called Magic 8-Ball images. So this is going to be an empty list and we'll populate the list in the program. And another one's going to be called folder directory. So folder directory can be the directory that we're going to be using where all the images are loaded. So at the moment the folder is called Magic 8-Ball _ images, right? So we just type that in there. Say 8-Ball _ images like so. So all the 8-Ball images are in there, and we're just going to load it up and save it into this list. We'll do the events and functions here a little bit later on. We'll just leave the gap there for now. Let's do all the elements that we need. Let's say image label. So image label is going to be the label that's going to be holding the images for us. So this is going to be type of a label from Tkinter and then we're going to link it to the root. The image of that one is going to be magic 8 images, and then we'll just load the first one that loads up in there. So right now the list is empty, so if this loads, it's going to cause an error, but we'll deal with that a little bit later on. We're going to do an input box, so that's where the player will enter their question. So there's going to be a type of an entry. Okay, link it to the root. Let's give it a width of 30. Font, we can say Arial 18 bold. That'll be big enough for the questions. Foreground, you need to have maroon image. Background yellow. And then we also need to center the question, right? So justify. So justify can be just center. Okay, and we also need a button. So I'm going to call this one a click button. It's a type of a button. Root, and then the text for the button is going to be ask the question. Font for the button, we can set it to Arial 20 and bold. I forgot this. That's going to cause an error. Why? Leave the comma there. So don't do the comma next to the font. I'm kind of used to doing the commas, so I'm doing the commas everywhere. Okay, and then BG, background is going to be a plum color. Just keep it a little bit on the colorful side of things. And then we're going to pack. So let's pack the GUI. So image label.pack. Then we're going to do the input box. Pack that one, but we want to give it a padding. And Y, let's set that to 10. So just give it a padding. So between the image and the input box, it's a little bit of a padding there. So click button .pack as well. And this one, we want to center it, we want to position it at the bottom, right? So we can say side to bottom. So it's going to be placed right at the bottom of the screen. And then right after that, we can say pad Y as well. And Y, you can set that to 30. So okay. Lastly, we just need to run the main loop for the root, right? So, and that should pretty much just display all the components. So what we can do here is I'm just going to leave the blank for now. I think I'm just going to do a quotation mark there. Let's see if I can run it. Okay, so as you can see, the question button's there. That one's moved up because there's no image there, so that's why it's no image, but it's still got the padding there for us. Pad X. This one should be pad Y instead of pad X. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that there's a little bit of padding, so it's not too like right at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so just to load up all the images to the list, we can just go ahead and say I'm gonna change that to loop events and functions. So because they've been declared here, we can pretty much just loop through the folder, find any JPG images that's available inside of it, load into the list, and then load that image to the label. Okay, let's try that. So let's say 4 images in os.list directory, and then we want to pass in the folder directory inside of that. If images.ends with, so if the image file ends with a .jpg extension, so if it ends with a .jpg extension there, you can say image is equals to image tk, like so, photo image, and image.open, and then we want to do the folder directory plus slash plus image. So we want to load up the image into a local variable called image. So the images one here is looping through the list, and then this is the single image that we want to load up, right? So, and then at the same time, what we want to do is I want to make sure all the images are resized into one. So just in case, this can be used because just in case you have images that are different size than each other, as they're loading, Python will resize them and put them into the size that you want. Let's say here resize. Actually, on this wrong one. Okay, yeah, there you go. Resize, and we have to do another bracket inside of it because this is a tuple. So 400, comma, more to 350, right? And then we're also missing the bracket in there. So this bracket should encapsulate all of it, and then inside of that we have the resize and the images bit. Okay, so after that we're going to say magic 8-ball images dot append image. Okay, so the image has been loaded, resized, and then added to the list. Okay, after the loop is finished, I wanted to see how many it's loaded up, right? So say total images available, and then we can just go with the length of the magic 8-ball images. So it should just tell us how many images are available inside of there, right? So if I run this one now, to be able to see something. Oh, sorry, this one should be images, not image, because the image is the local variable that I've named here, and images is the one that's we're looping through with. It's looking for a image and it's saying the image is not defined, so that should fix that problem. So right now, as you can see, it tells me once it loaded up, it tells me that it's got 15 items inside of the images list. So right now we have appended 15 of them. Great. So now I'm going to close this one down. All right, so that's our end of the loop. So end of the loop here. So with that done, now we have access to that list. So now I can just display an image here, the magic images, and then I can go ahead and select 0. First one is this, so it shows yes. If I select, say, 7, it's no. I'll select 3. Okay, so right now we can see that the images are loading properly, and we can actually see it on the screen. So I do have a placeholder image called moo, and it's on number 13.jpg. So the way this works is because the images are numbered from 1 to 15, so it will go to 1, and then it will go to, so the second one is basically 10, then third one is 11, then fourth one is 12, fifth, and then as soon as it goes to 15, and then it's going to count from 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's basically organizing it all in an alphabetical order or in a descending order, right? Or the ascending order. So the moo is going to be on number 4, I believe. Let's try that. Yeah. So moo is on number 4. So that could be just a placeholder, and then you type in your question and ask the question, and it just delete the text from there and then show a random image. Okay, so right before the main loop, we need to add all the events that we want to the component. So the 2 events that we want to add is one for the button and one for the enter key when we press it, and to change the same, basically do the same thing between the 2 events. Okay, so what we're going to say here is we're going to say click button dot bind. We're going to bind the button 1 to the less, do the less than sign first. Say button -1 bind, and then right after that we can say the function or the event that we're going to create is going to be called ask question. It hasn't been created yet. And then second one is going to be for the input box dot bind, and that one same again, and this one is going to be return. Okay, so the return is the enter key, right? And we're going to also say ask question here. So these are the 2 values that we actually need. So these are the 2 events that we're going to be, well, it's a single event that's going to be added to both of these components, right? So the event, so let's go ahead and add the event here. We'll say def ask question, and then because it's an event, we need to type in the event inside of it, so it knows when it triggers that this is an event that's being triggered by a component. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that there is some sort of value inside of the input box or the entry box. So we're going to say if length of the input box, so length of the input box get, we need to use the get there, so we can get whatever value is inside of the input box is equals 0, So if it is like empty, then we can say message box dot show info, and then we can say there's, so that's the title of the box, and then we're gonna say enter a question first. Okay, and obviously if something is inside of the box, then we can just run a function called show answer. Okay, and for now we'll just create a dummy function just to see how it looks like. Show answer, let me just pass. It's not doing anything, it's just going to basically exist. Right, so I'm going to run this one now, and right now it's empty. I press enter, it shows the message box to say please enter a question, press enter there. Okay, so that's working. And show answer function is going to basically be the one that's going to change the images for us. Okay, so inside the show answer, we're going to say num is equals to random dot rand int. So just generate a whole number, a random whole number basically, between two values. So between 0 and length of the ball list, length, and then a ball list minus 1. So we don't want to be going to the last one. That's 1 there, so that reduces the chance of having an error of the list going out of bounds. Then we can say image label like so .config. So image label.config is also image, and then obviously we're going to say magic 8-ball, and then run the number inside of it. So whatever number is generated is going to pick a random object from the list and then display it onto the label. It's as simple as that. And the last bit we need is a deleting all the information that we have from the input box. So input box.delete. Okay, and we'll go from the first object to the last object. So the first part of the string to the last part of the string, that's in there. Okay, and so that should pretty much do it really. Let's see. So from the top, we imported all the libraries that we need, create the windows, do the variables, run a loop using the OS list directory, add anything with the JPEG inside of the Magic 8-ball images list. Then we created the components, so the image label, input box, button, pack everything, add the events. The events are ask a question event there, and then this is basically going to check if you're when you're typing a question in there, if the box is empty, show a message box to say ask a question first. If there is some element inside the box, then just run the show answer function. Inside the show answer function, just generate a random number between the two values, between 0 and the length of the images list, and then show that random number from using the list and load the image for the label. And then lastly, just delete everything from the input box. Okay, I'm just going to run this on now. So there you go, we got the placeholder working. And now say and we're programming the question, it says go for it. Okay, learn game design. This is never going to happen, probably right. Okay, let's say can I learn from YouTube? Definitely, that's good. Yes, you can. And then if I leave it empty and press enter, it says enter a question first, and then if I press the button, it also says the same thing. So this has been a simple tutorial on how to create a Magic 8-ball application using Python and Tkinter. I hope you enjoyed this one. Once again, the images and the source code will be available, the link in the description. Hopefully you enjoyed this entire tutorial, and I will see you on the next one.